I do not know. I can think of one or two people who come sort of nearest to that. I think Kemi Badenoch comes nearest to that, in my view, but that may be doing a great disservice to the others. I just don't know what they think about this. But unless they grapple with that, they're finished, all of them.
We are going through the stories of the day with Melanie Phillips. See, now I'm worried. There's this doubt in my mind now. Is it Melanie Griffiths or is it Melanie Phillips? Definitely Melanie Phillips.
Could you just change your name, Melanie?
Yeah, could you? That'd be easier, Melanie. And Giles Coren. Now, listen, as you wake up on the morning of the 5th of July, or as we hear the results pour in overnight, which you'll be able to do on Times Radio, make sure you do, we will see if the poll that matters matches all the polls. They all seem to agree that Labour will secure a majority. And from history, we know that probably means that Rishi Sunak may concede and will likely resign as Tory leader. So who will be his successor? Melanie, the front runners are the usual people, aren't they? Kemi Badenoch, Penny Mordaunt, I don't know, Suella Braverman? Who would you put in there?
Well, who's going to be the mug who's left holding the parcel when the music stops? Look, I mean, they're going to be in a situation post the election, assuming all this happens, assuming they are completely wiped out. They're going to be, first of all, fighting like two ferrets in a sack. There will only be two of them left. But they are not going to be fighting in a kind of vacuum. They're going to have Farage. And Farage is going to be jumping up and down and purporting to be, the real leader of the real conservative movement. And that's going to complicate matters completely because they're going to be fighting not just against each other, they're going to be fighting him. And they're going to be fighting for what? For the real conservative vote. They have to define, first of all, what conservatism is. I haven't seen anyone yet do that, because they've not really been in a position to be asked to do that. But the problem with the Conservative Party, the reason why it's fallen apart, in my view, is that for many years it has not known what conservatism is, and it's gone herring off after a number of false gods, as it were, mainly to do with money and freedom and the free market and all that. And they've ignored stuff which true social conservatism. I mean, I think real conservatism is social conservatism, much of which was in the old Labour Party, much of which is in the famous Red Wall, much of which is what Farage is talking about. Now, in my view, unless and until they connect with that, they are not going to connect ever again with real conservatism, and they're going to continue to flail around and die. Now, does anybody understand that in the modern conservative, in the current Conservative Party, among the runners and riders? I don't know. I do not know. I can think of one or two people who come sort of nearest to that. I think Kemi Badenoch comes nearest to that, in my view, but that may be doing a great disservice to the others. I just don't know what they think about this. But unless they grapple with that, they're finished, all of them.
Giles, who do you think's next for the Conservatives?
Right. Well, the thing is that I like and support and have met and I'm very impressed by Kemi. And I met Kemi at a party and we've had dinner and stuff and talk, because I just think she's great and her husband's great. And so there's a sort of, it's not least because I never got a crack at checkers under David Cameron, who I thought was a friend. And I just really got to get someone in there who's going to have me for dinner. But you're
friends with Keir Starmer. He's literally going to be Prime Minister.
Yeah.
That's what Esther keeps saying. Esther thinks that Vicky's going to invite her, and because Keir won't want to have me, a shot of me arriving at Chequers could end the only thing that could stop him getting a second term. So I'm resigned. No, look, but there's no point. The bit silliness apart, I think I'm not saying that Melanie Griffiths is wrong. I'm not saying she's wrong about defining conservatism, but I think in the first instance, the Tories do like to vote for her. They do like an icon. They like a person that means something. And Hague, although he was the Thatcher anointed, he wasn't much of an icon, and nor was Howard, and nor was Duncan Smith. And then Cameron managed to make himself that, and obviously Boris was famously that. The things what I like about Kemi, and I do know the others too a bit and stuff. I think Kemi's real, and so that's the thing about Farage. Kemi doesn't really say what you expect her to think. The others are all to an extent robots. I think it's a fair accumulator bet, or not accumulator bet. But if I was offered money that the next leader is going to be a woman of colour, I think I would put my tenner down. I think the thing is that the other two contenders, Braverman and Patel, they've both said they'd have Farage in the party, and Kemi has said that she wouldn't, which I think is a plus side. And I think the other two are to a degree sort of over-promoted wonks with IQs in the middle 110 to 120, whereas Kemi's a proper intelligent person, one of us. Kemi's also very, very angry. I mean, genuinely, when I had dinner with her, she's absolutely. I can't tell you all the things she's furious about, but she seems genuinely angry, which I think people are. And I think the red wall thing. I don't think Rishi looks angry about anything. So I don't think.
You're right. Kemi Badenoch, she was angry with Stig last time she came on here.
She's been angry with both of us, hasn't she?
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
She's too angry, I think. She picks a fight when there's none there. You ask her a question. Oh, you would say that. You would say good morning, wouldn't you? Hey? It's a psychological question, that, man. How do you possibly campaign when you've already lost? And we've had various different versions of that. William Hague says you've just got to believe you can win. We've had Grant Shapps twice effectively conceding that they can't win. We've had other Tory MPs sort of saying, as Mel Stride was there, that the fight is still there. But where they go and how they talk does indicate what they're thinking. And it does apparently seem to suggest they don't think they can win. They've just got to try and not lose so badly they get destroyed forever.
That's the point. That's why they're fighting. I mean, I don't know what's going on more than what I read. And what I read is that they have given up trying to defend or fight the seats which are slightly more marginal. And they're actually defending some very safe Conservative seats because they think those are now under threat. They're certainly fighting, but they're fighting to prevent their party from being decimated rather than just merely defeated. And we don't know whether that's going to work or not. I mean, I do think, we all know of the examples in the past where people have confidently predicted, overwhelming majority and suddenly it's a hung parliament or it's the opposite. And we also have, the rogue element in this, which has not happened before. It is unprecedented. This third party reform led by a man who has had, I think he's been the most consequential politician who has not ever won a seat in our history. And so we actually don't know what's going on below the radar. We don't know whether people are listening carefully to what reform is saying, what Farage is saying. It's very much still a one-man band.
Yeah.
And he has some very peculiar candidates in some of the seats that they're fighting. But we don't know how many people are listening carefully and thinking, I really do actually think that agenda speaks to me. Now, we all know that there can be a large number of those people, and they won't actually affect the result because of the system being so intrinsically prejudiced against a third party. So it's very hard to see from that point of view, how this could possibly be anything other than what we're seeing in the polling numbers.
Yeah. The reform picture will only go in one direction. I mean, it was bad for the Tories before Farage stood. And so it's not going to be better because Farage is standing.
Well, you see, I think that Farage's socially conservative agenda is going to speak to a lot of red wall voters. And I think he's going to make inroads into the Labour vote. Now, whether, given the system that pertains in this country, whether that's going to make any difference to any seat at all is very much a moot point. But I do think that, his appeal, everyone's talking about the effect of Farage on the Conservative Party for understandable reasons. But I think that it's also potentially a danger to the Labour Party.
Can I
go on.
point out as well that as well as the saying that he... there's the business of him being a sort of tub-thumping demagogue who appeals to the red wall. I was listening to Farage, and increasingly, and it's difficult. I mean, I listen to him, and I find myself internally sort of nodding and going, "You're right," and you're on it. And I don't want to. But he's most of his stuff in his his not manifesto, but his
contract.
His contract. It was incredibly similar to the stuff in the Liz Truss financial statement, though, in terms of the cutting away of the tax and in terms of the way that it spoke to me. So he said things like, we're going to abolish IR35. And to any self-employed urban professional like me, I'm going, yes, I spend my life trying to prove that I'm self-employed and not an employee of, for example, Times Radio, where you pay me if I come on and not if I don't. And that isn't for the red wall. That's for people. That's for floating voters. That's for professional middle class people. He's talking about raising the threshold for stamp duty, stuff like that. The things for the people who have second homes will be able to profit more by it. So he's picking up all those little bits and pieces. And then when he says that thing about, let's face it, it's a presidential system. There's only going to be, I know the names aren't on the ballot papers, he says, which we all think, but people are voting for Sunak or Starmer. And if they don't want that, it's me. He's getting lessons from his mate Donald Trump in the fact that it's all about one person. And I think if this was a presidential system, I think he'd probably win.
Well, goodness me. Well, that is interesting. I wanted to ask, Melanie, I wanted to ask you because we had William Hague on Tuesday, yesterday, in fact. It was yesterday, isn't it? Yeah, getting confused by the days. And he said that, and maybe he would say this, wouldn't he? But he said it's not a foregone conclusion, and the shocks can happen on election night. And I think we were a little bit bemused by that because, you know, the polls are all going in one direction and the gaps are huge. But do you think there could be any kind of actual surprise, shock?
Yes, I do.
And what would that be?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I just know that it is a fool's errand to make any prediction whatsoever and to be certain about anything in life, basically, but certainly about politics and certainly about an election. You know, from that point of view, he's right. Those of us who are looking at the evidence of anything moving in terms of what's being recorded in opinion polling, we can't see anything moving at all.
Yeah.
So we are understandably very sceptical. It's very hard to see how this could be anything other than, except that, you know, I mean, out there, people take a very long time to focus. I mean, we're all, you know, obsessed by all this. We think about it the whole time. Most people don't give it a second thought. They've got other things to think about, and they don't focus until really very late in the day, very, very late in the day sometimes. And the point is that, you know, all this stuff coming at them the whole time, we don't know what they're actually tuning into, what's getting through to them. We think that they have tuned out the Conservatives. No, they haven't tuned out the Conservatives. They are furious with the Conservatives. So we can put those to one side. We think that they're looking at Keir Starmer's Labour Party and thinking, I really don't like this man. I don't trust him. I don't understand what he's talking about. He is so devious. He is so shifty. I don't like them. But on the other hand, we're thinking to ourselves, let's give him a go because the other lot are so awful. That's possible. That's very possible. It's also possible they're listening to Nigel Farage.
Well,
And they're thinking, just like Giles has said, actually what he's saying is, you know, I go along with that.
well, there's a lot of undecideds apparently. So, I mean, you may well be right. Giles and Melanie, stay there. We're going to talk more. And also, who's going to be the next Tory leader? Can you believe that? It's still 15 days to the election and this is already a thing, apparently.